Hello to you and your strengths. I am so excited. I'm Tiffany Taylor. I am the owner and chief strengths officer of HelloStrengths LLC, and I get the honor to sit with military spouses and veterans to talk about their talents and their passions. And today I get to sit with Mary. Now, my top 5 Clifton strengths are positivity, input, maximizer, learner, and strategic. And Mary, I have in preparation for this podcast an entire page. So even though you do not have your top 5 Clifton strengths, you have a lot of strengths. And I myself have a page full of words that I've written down of strengths that I am curious about to learn more about. So, Mary, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What are you passionate about and what do you get paid to do?
Okay. Well, Tiffany, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Well, I would say helping people. That's the all-encompassing thing, right? If I can find a way to do it, that's how I'm going to do it. And that's how it's translated through my work, in the Air Force and then now as a nurse. And so now I'm a nurse practitioner, and I recently just transitioned into a new job where I get to help veterans, and it's so awesome to see how, when I look back, all these connections I've made through the military community had these little sparks to lead me to where I can help veterans on this massive scale. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
That's exciting. I'd love to hear that sounds like your passions and what you get paid to do coming together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And help was the first word on my strengths word wall that I for you that I had like little tick marks
Really?
next to. Yeah, so I was like, oh, because that word kept coming up. And so I'm excited that you're able to merge your passions with service, because service was another word that kept
Mm.
that keeps coming up. And so I'm curious, I'm titling the title of this podcast Embracing the Middle, right? So you talk about a lot about embracing the middle, not rushing past the current part that you're living. And so, you talk about, I was in the Air Force doing this, and now I'm a nurse practitioner doing this. Are you willing to share a little bit about how you embrace that middle part between the Air Force and now your job as a nurse practitioner?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times within the veteran community, we talk about, transition and how hard it is right after when you leave the service.
Mhm.
And for me, I didn't experience that because I went right into nursing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this really intense, high stress job. Because I thought I could skip. I'm like, if I just keep going, nothing will ever catch up to me.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while until eventually, of course, if anyone's ever like been someone that goes after like high intensity or really fast paced environments, they know at some point or another it's going to catch up. And so it did. And I was forced to stop, and I
Yeah.
had to face myself. And that was really hard. But what I started learning, and, I started seeing things online and learning more about myself. And this theme kept coming up about the outcome,
Mm.
right? We get so attached, especially with social media nowadays. Sometimes we can see this really hype culture of you need to have this focus and this goal and just go 1,000%. And I've never been someone that's had this vision of, this is what exactly I'm going to do, this project or profession. It was always just, if I can help people, that feels like my calling right there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I didn't identify with that. And I thought, okay, well, if I don't have this, then I don't know. I'm gonna make something up and just go for it, even if I'm not aligned. And so when I had to step back and go, wait a second, what if I just let go of that outcome? And I recognize that it's not the end,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
It's not, crossing the finish line, getting the job, getting whatever the goal is. Yes, of course, goals are important, within the context of what I'm trying to say is
Mhm.
that it's the process. You have to learn
Yeah.
how to start loving the process, because that's the point of life. The process never ends. There's no arrival. And so once you make peace with that, I was and you have to make peace with it. That's really important. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand how growth is really supposed to work in my life.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I have
Yeah.
to say that my learner is full of joy right now because learner's in my top 5, and learner is about the process. It's about really enjoying the process, not the outcome, right? For example, this is a silly example, but this is an example. I have this right here, this beautiful flower Lego set
Yes.
that I was gifted to me by somebody I dearly love, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And so I'm really excited to do this. Now, I genuinely, and she's going to watch this later, but I genuinely do not care about what this looks like when I'm done with it. I'm going to put time and energy and care into it, and I hope that I can get somewhere close to what it looks like on the box, right? But
Yeah.
my learner is about, I'm excited about the activity, the process of it, what I'm going to learn in the process about myself, about the activity. Maybe I'll bring my kids on it. What am I going to learn? Like, they can help me, right? So for
I
me, I
love
am
that.
really big on the process. That doesn't mean that I don't want that end goal. I don't want a good result. Like, I want
Right.
that to look like a flower when I'm done, right? Um,
Yeah.
but I'm also like flexible where if it doesn't, maybe it could be something else and we just don't know what it could be yet. And I'm open to like learning about that, right? But that is something that it's how do you pair that with some sort of executing strength to get things done strength,
Mhm.
right? So I'm not sure, like, in this growth journey of yours, if you find yourself in these moments where it's great, I'm doing all this learning and experiencing, but like I still have to get stuff done. Like, there's still like steps that I need to like check the box and get things done. So what are the tools and resources that you use in order to protect time for that learning, enjoying the process, and also like checking boxes to get things done?
Oh man, Tiffany. First, that's awesome. I love what you said about that set. That is spot on. Uh I'm in this right now with what you're saying with,
Mhm,
the process and checking boxes. I really try to I'm a type A creative. And so
mhm,
it's tricky sometimes because I want to be focused and streamline checklist, but then that really does not benefit my creative side. So what
mhm.
I've been doing is like
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it out. I have my weekly planner, and this is what has actually
Okay.
worked very well for me,
Okay.
where I'm flexible. So I write down, like, I have a morning routine that I know I need to do every
Okay.
morning. So I
Yeah.
just do morning routine and I write that down every day. And it's just a trigger to go, okay, did
Mhm,
you do everything? Like for me, it's like, okay, did prayer, stretching,
mhm,
little things like that, just to make sure I'm doing those. And then anything that comes up, I can write each day. Excuse
mhm.
me.
Yeah, those cues to action. So like physically seeing
Mhm.
it, a cue to action, like on the paper that you can reference.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and it's writing. That's been a huge
Hmm.
instrumental thing, like not putting it in my phone. I don't know what
Yes.
it is. It just creates that secondary trigger in my mind where I'm like, I remember doing it. And then I give
Hmm.
myself grace and flexibility within the days. Like if I got to push something one day, that's fine. But then that way I can go,
Yeah.
okay, did I hit my daily checklist things as a mom, as someone with a job? Like,
Hmm.
okay, all that. Now I have time to, for me, it's writing and I like to paint and like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Give myself time to explore that while still getting things done.
Yeah.
That's the
I love,
basics.
yeah. Back to the basics. I love, so grace and flexibility. So grace, I'm adding grace to the strengths word wall over here. And I think it aligns well with a lot of the other words that I have in here because it's clear that you're very intentional about the words that you use to talk to yourself. Like, and I love
Mhm.
that. Like, you are intentionally creating grace for yourself in a lot of areas, whether it be as a parent, work, this growth journey that you're on with your art. So, can you talk to me a little bit more about how does one do that? How does one be graceful towards themselves?
Tiffany, this one's really hard. If anyone's listening to this, I just want to
I've
be
got
so
my pin. I've got
transparent.
my pin ready to like write it.
I'm so part of why I wanted to start writing about the process in the middle is because we kind of sometimes get caught up in this whitewashed end of
Mm.
oh, this is the end result. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not. Like I am in the mud. Like
Mm.
anybody else? And so to get grace, it's taking years, and I'm still
Mm.
so heavily in it. And you have to be conscious of it every day, because as a woman, I worked in aesthetics for about 3.5 years, so a medical spa setting where Botox and fillers, primarily female clients, and the common theme between all of these women is how they speak to themselves. And I know because I've done it too, but the way they sit in the chair and they start going in on negatively bringing up aspects about themselves. Like even when I say, now I don't even like to say it because I think what you say out loud, it matters.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, right? I'm like, wow,
Mm.
this is a trend, and it's a self-worth thing.
Mm.
And so recognizing that that's the root is self-worth, and going, okay, what can I do to be conscious in my head every day to catch it? Create those triggers,
Mhm.
just like writing something down, figure out what mental triggers when you start maybe not speaking to yourself kindly, or like maybe you
Mhm.
didn't do something that you thought that outcome based, performance based, like, oh, I didn't accomplish this. And then you start going in on yourself. Find
Mhm.
those triggers, because if you wouldn't speak to your mom, your daughter, your best friend that way, you probably shouldn't be speaking to yourself that way, right?
Mhm.
And so recognize that, practice it. It takes years. Okay. It's not an overnight
Yeah.
thing. You
Yeah.
didn't get there overnight, and same thing on the growth end of it. And so once you start seeing that, you start understanding what grace really is.
Mhm.
And once you can feel it and surrender to that, then you can start practicing it. It's really easy to say, just give
Mhm.
yourself grace, but there needs to be that actionable, you know,
Action.
there
Yeah.
needs to be that action beforehand to get to the end point. And so for me, it's interrupting the thought pattern, saying something kindly, or instead of adding emotion to it, just debriefing myself. Like, okay, well, what could I have done?
Mhm.
We're gonna oh my gosh, what's the word? I lost
I'm
it.
I'm stuck on
Conviction.
debrief. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Have conviction. Don't have shame
Yeah.
and, all of that. Have conviction
Mhm.
about it and then move forward. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, that's the first step. And this could be like a 3-hour conversation, but
Right.
for
No,
great.
so I think too, like the word that I want out of that word debrief, because that's a word on my strengths wall for you. And um I think I know this to be true. I know it to be true that it doesn't take someone sitting in a chair, um, here, there, everywhere, just insert whatever doctor or office or whatever you might be in, that women have that negative self-talk constantly, right? And so I don't want to speak for all women, but from what I know to be true as a woman and women I've spoke with, this, like, that is a common thing, right? And it's actually one of the reasons that I was interested in Clifton Strengths, in strength-based wellness, because when I would sit down with women I knew and say, hey, write a list of 10 things that you don't like about yourself that you want to see change, people without hesitation would just list, and they could fill the page, and they're like, oh, I'm like, okay, you only have 30 seconds left, and they're like rushing, and I'm like, okay, now we're going to turn the page, write down 5 things that you love about yourself, you like, that you would not change. And it was like
Mm,
not just hesitation, but just
mm,
a complete stop. And so the work that I do really is about how can we get women and men, military spouses and veterans, include men too. But how can we specifically get women to sit down, and when they're asked that question, to have the same type of flow and grace with themselves, and really see themselves for who they are and what they're talented about, right? And I think that's exactly what you're describing is it's kind of like, what is the love letter that I wrote to myself today? Right? So
Yeah.
if I had to sit down at the end of the day and write down the words, the phrases, the things that I said to myself, what would my love letter to me be today? And is it a reflection of the love that I deserve, that I feel I deserve? And if not, how do I take action? Because you also talk about, which I love, the difference between letting go and not picking something back up. Which, if you can talk a little bit about that, because I think that's I think it's really in line with what you just said and could be really helpful for women, military spouses, veterans, the difference between just letting something go and actively choosing not to pick something back up.
Yeah. Tiffany, everything you just said was so good. Oh my, I'm motivated right now. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But letting go and not picking something back up. So for me, man, I think with letting go, it's gotten a bad rap, right? Within
Mhm.
the wellness perhaps space where people it's a cop out. Just let
Mm.
it go. And
Mhm.
so people don't know the tools already. They don't. They have them, but
Mhm.
they don't know how to use them. And
Yeah.
so they go, again, we're talking about that end goal of letting go, but how do I get there? So for me, when I would hear that, like my brain would glitch and then I would just like throw whatever it is like behind me and just like kind of look like I'm not
Mm.
going to look at it and I'm just going to keep walking forward and I
Mhm.
let it go. And it just trails and the trail gets bigger and bigger the more you do that.
Mhm.
Because I need action. Like that it just never made sense for me. The bridge wasn't there. And so once I recognized what it was and what I need to do is I need to just turn around and face it, assess it, do the debrief and go, okay, well, how can I integrate this piece of me and then move forward? Because, you know, I've talked, there's like books and business that talk about pruning. And then like, I'm a big Marvel fan. So if anyone's seen Loki, the pruning of the universe is like, you can't prune your memories.
Mhm.
Everything is a part of you always. So you have to figure out where it's going to live.
Mhm.
And even if it's small, you don't have to carry everything super heavy.
Mhm.
And once you recognize it and go, okay, I'm just not going to pick that part of whatever it may be back up, a poor behavior or something like that, because then there's the context of grief that can come in and it can get really
Mhm.
complex. But the
Mhm.
point is, face it, learn from it, be able to put it back down, and you have to keep choosing it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
And
like going through, oh, go
this
ahead.
is exhausting. And it's exhausting. I think that's what I think, and you touched on this earlier, is that people aren't showing the messy middle and the actual amount of energy and time, intentional energy and time. And this is exhausting because let's use, for example, the behavior of, the negative self-talk. Let's, keep with that example. It is very time consuming when you first start catching how you speak to yourself. If you're catching every moment that you are putting yourself down, not being kind to yourself, if you physically stop, you choose not to have the blinders on anymore, and you're like, wait, I'm going to turn around and face, I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. You can fill in the blank with any insecurity you have. And when you first start doing the work, it is so constant that you start to get annoyed with yourself. You're like, "God, okay,"
Yeah.
like, you're like, dear God, like this, like you really do start to get like, here I go again. Like, this is so annoying. Like, you really do. And yeah, and it's really exhausting. So I think I do want to stop and say, I applaud you. I applaud anybody who's listening, anybody who's willing to even one time take the energy to do this, and that's a success. And so I just want to say that you're right. It's those moments, it's each moment that you decide to face and have the courage to face the things that you want to change.
Yep. And it's
Because it's
just do a little thread every day. And remember,
hmm
like it's part of the process, the whole point.
hmm
Even going forward, the process and messy middle of life, that
hmm
that is the definition of growth. Like
Yeah.
for me, self-worth is one of the things that I've struggled with. And so I just try to pull a little bit of a thread. And then some days I get somewhere and some days I got to pause. And
Mhm.
that's where through the years, all of these lessons and things have come together where I can give myself grace now and go, okay, it's all good.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. And I think I'm very curious to hear your perspective too on, you mentioned tools, right? And tools. And there's one thing that I will say, as a military spouse, and in my experience working with other military spouses and veterans, there's an abundance of resources, of tools. There is like never ending, and they're all necessary. Let me put it out there. So I will never say there's too many resources for military spouses or veterans or organizations or this. Like, no, keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. Even with all of those resources and all of the people who genuinely want to invest in the military community, military families, all of it, there's still a pattern of this loneliness, of this isolation that exists. And not even if all you're surrounded by all these tools and all these resources, how to use them in a way where you benefit from them. So I'm very curious, was there a resource or a person or an organization during as you were transitioning out of the military, like what resources or tools do you think are important and people need to know more about for the military community?
There is one. Let me just double check before I want to make sure the name I say it correctly.
And I know this is a hard question for you because you really do promote and support and like give space to so many organizations and people doing great things. So I know for you, you're
Yeah.
like narrowing it down to one is hard, but um
There's one I really did specifically use. It's called Healing the Hero.
okay.
Uh, it's for veterans. I might say this again, just if I don't know if you're going to
Hmm.
edit this so I can make sure I get there. I don't know if they do first responder. Yep. Okay. So one of the resources that I have used is Healing the Heroes. It's for veterans and first responders. They offer, it's a very different approach to therapy. And
Hmm.
it's over a course of a few weeks, you do your sessions. And I've done like traditional, CBT therapy, cognitive
Hmm.
behavioral, before. And so this was a little bit different and I really liked it. And
Hmm.
it helped me figure out so many of these threads.
Hmm.
And so if anyone is like struggling or going through it and they need to reach out, I mean,
Hmm.
they were on it within like 24 hours. I
Oh,
was like
that's
in.
awesome. Yeah. Okay.
I highly encourage and recommend that organization for
Okay.
anyone that's struggling.
Yeah.
And again, if you're a veteran, I didn't have to pay anything.
Okay. All right. That's good. Now, what about in the messy middle, your passions? You mentioned, you're creative. So what you said you like to paint. So what is it about painting that is a tool or a resource for you to like recalibrate and like reset? What is it about it that
Tiffany, I don't know. Is that funny? I have something to think about next time I paint.
Yeah.
Maybe that is it because it forces that focus. And so I can be quiet in my head for a
Mhm.
little bit and still make something. There's something about creating where we're
Mhm.
putting ourselves out there and there's like that physical component to it, the mental, and then I don't know, I think it's the silence it creates in my own head.
Mhm.
So I have some
Yeah.
space to think about things. There's something to that. And I like dabble in it. I am
Yeah.
no artist, but it does help me. Like I'm even all about paint by numbers. I've done like
Yeah.
quite a few big ones because then it's like type A and creative. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool lines.
I love
Ah,
that. No, so
yeah.
I paint too. I paint too, and I have dear friend of mine. She's an amazing abstract artist and an original Tina. Shout out to original Tina. She's but I started painting because I wanted to spend time with her, right? So I was like, I want to spend more time, and she's long distance. And so we would just, FaceTime each other and start painting. And then it became like a weekly thing. And then I was like, I enjoy this. And it really is the only time for me in that creative space. Like you said, it forces your focus, right? It
Yeah.
forces that silence, that stillness, that pause, and it's a place where I don't have a plan. So you like to have a plan in your painting, but
Yeah.
like sometimes, but I don't have a plan. Like I sit down without any plan and I just start doing, and something always comes of it. I find, and I don't like to paint with paintbrushes. I paint with palette knives. So I always find like a different palette knife or just the way it sounds, like just the sounds of a palette knife, like on a canvas. And yeah, it really does. It forces you to focus. And I find too that sometimes I'll just find myself walking into I call it the creative space where I keep everything. I'll just find myself like there. And I'm like, oh, I guess I need to paint because my mind is like right. And I just find myself there. And I'm like, oh, okay, I need to be in this space and I need to like have that moment of pause. And it does allow you to have that debrief. And I use debriefs all the time. Well, I do safety briefs with my kids. I do debriefs after experiences. We have a weekly debrief at the end of the week, like what went well, what do you want to see more of, what do you want to see less of. And I think that's something too that you're inspiring me to is do more debriefs for myself. And I
I'm writing
think
that.
that's, yeah, like I think that is, I'm intentional to do that for other people. And I think definitely after, taking in a lot of your messaging and our conversation, that debriefing with myself, I think I'm going to continue to do that and focus on that.
Yeah.
Um, Oh, I'm looking at this word wall because I have like, so I'm like looking at the time. I'm like, okay, a couple more minutes, and I have a lot of words on here, but I only have a couple minutes. So, um, the last, oh goodness, which one do I want to do? Okay, I'm gonna do two, but I'm gonna like merge it into one. So you talk a lot about choice paralysis, and you directly, you'll use that phrase choice paralysis and what you've learned about that. And then I heard that pattern and theme of things you talked about, and I want to merge that with leading from the inside, because that's
Mm-hmm.
all about embracing the middle, leading from the inside, what's going on. And so do you have any tips or insight for people who maybe are in that choice paralysis where they have a decision to make, whether it be about a passion or a talent or a career, whatever it might be, they have a decision to make. How do you know when you're leading from the inside versus making a decision that has been imposed on you from society, social media? How do you decipher that when you're making decisions?
Oh, this is such a good question. Really quick, shout out to my coach, Britt from Pattern and Purpose, because she's helped me unlock this
Mhm.
for fear-based decisions,
Okay.
which is where I've made a lot of decisions in my earlier days from the outside.
Mm,
So there's that aspect of it. Another thing that's coming up is one of the hardest strengths, I think, to develop is discernment,
mm,
because the only way to develop that is through going through life. You cannot read a book. You cannot talk to somebody about it. You cannot watch even this podcast and develop discernment.
yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
earn that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so through your life, your lens, and knowing your worth, when you're faced with those decisions, you have to pull in all of that data. Like become your own little bubble, pull in all of your data, know your values. Like I am so excited to do this strength course
Mm-hmm.
and figure out, are these decisions aligning with who you are? And
Mm-hmm.
use your discernment, not the outside shoulds and all of
Mm-hmm.
the fear based. What
Mm-hmm.
is right for you?
Mm. Yeah.
And it's so easy to say that in a few sentences, but it's really hard to practice and take your time. Like that's one of the things with the military, like the biggest blessings is becoming
Mm-hmm.
a civilian is recognizing I can sit with some decisions a little bit longer and go, you know what, I'm going to sleep on this, or I'm going to give it 24 hours. Like use that, because sometimes you'll change your mind in the morning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important. But discernment, using discernment, knowing your self-worth, and then looking forward and going, okay, how is this serving my internal purpose?
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I love
Oh,
that. I absolutely love that. Well, I will say, so we're coming to an end, but I will say when it comes, fear is valid. There are things to be fearful about in this world, right? And there might be military spouse or a veteran watching this podcast that's thinking like there, I do have fear. There are legitimate fears that I do have about decisions that I have to make or things happening around me. And so I want to say thank you so much for being here on this podcast. I really do feel and know that these types of conversations um help face fear with courage, right? So I think that, we're all facing fears and we're all doing it courageously in our own way. And thank you for being here and having these courageous conversations and helping others to start to have them with themselves or other people that they care about. So I really appreciate that. And I am very excited too to stay in touch and to learn more about your strength story and your strengths. So very excited to see. I mean, I wish like, I can't, even though I have this now 3 pages of words and phrases and strengths that I captured in our conversation. Yeah, I'm very curious. I can't say, oh, I know that you have a ranger activator. Like you have to like take the
yeah,
Clifton Strengths assessment to know what those top 5 are. But I definitely am like curious. I'm like starting like, okay, but oh my gosh, like is it relationship building? Is it executing? Is it leader? Like I'm very
yeah.
curious in the leadership domains, like where your strengths are gonna fall, and find out more about those. So yeah, more to come on that. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and we'll definitely stay in touch. And do you have any questions for me before we wrap things up?
No, Tiffany, thank you so, so much. I love this conversation and thank you for everything you're doing for military spouses and veterans. Knowing your strengths is half the battle. Like just knowing what they are, then you can go
Yeah.
forward. So again, I'm
Yeah.
excited. And anyone who doesn't know, I think this is the best opportunity to take and know your strengths and go forward with them. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. All right.